So it has officially been 1 year since I have created Roots to Healing Breaking Generational Cycles. And I thought it was only right to come on here and even speak to why I created this self guided healing journal to begin with. So, for context, my name is Harmony Roche, and I am a trauma informed counselor. I went to college and gained an honorary diploma with the title as an assaulted women and children's counselor slash advocate. The program was very centered on a trauma-informed intersectional approach to women and children who've experienced abuse. However, the program taught me that there are many different forms of trauma that are inflicted among individuals, especially women-identified individuals and youth who are vulnerable in their ability to be able to protect themselves and advocate for themselves as well. Trauma doesn't just come in the form of someone individually oppressing someone else. It comes in the form of state violence and systemic oppression. For gender diverse people, such as women, and for youth and children as well, they often can be discriminated against, taken advantage of, dismissed. This is not to mention the intersectional lens when you're coming from a certain race or marginalized group of people. This only heightens the way that you will be dealt with, when you're navigating systems such as the justice system, such as the medical industrial complex. In general, these group of people are very vulnerable to being harmed on many different levels. The sad thing is that when a woman or a child is seeking support, seeking refuge from the abuse, from the trauma, and they're navigating these systems that are supposed to quote unquote help them, such as receiving mental health support, such as receiving safety planning and housing, and being able to navigate moving out of their abusive situation, they are often dismissed, they are often judged, they are often labeled, and in turn, they do not get the right help and supports that they need. Another thing that I learned while studying my program was that a lot of the trauma that we inherit is stored within our DNA, and it doesn't just stop or start in one generation. It often can be backtracked to many, many generations where there's a cycle happening, where there might be a story going on where the women in the family are used to experiencing abuse from their partners, from their family members, and it becomes this increasingly common thing that the next generation ends up inheriting and dealing with, because there are blurred lines in terms of what boundaries need to be set, or in terms of self-worth, in terms of, how we're viewing ourselves and what we're accepting in our relationships. A lot of these belief systems are passed down to us, making us more susceptible to be in relationships where we're being hurt, we're being taken advantage of, we're being abused, or even having a relationship with ourselves that's very unhealthy because we're very hard on ourselves, we're very judgmental on ourselves. We do not see our potential, we do not see how we can be successful. The science behind it too is even more so the truth speaking, that what your great grandmother, what your great grandfather, even the people before them, is all interconnected. Their story lives within us. And the real goal is to understand what is our story in terms of our dreams, our ambitions, our own self-beliefs that's intentionally created, and what is a story that's coming from the past that echoes within us that we may not understand where it's coming from or why it's even present, why it's even there. And that's why I created Roots to Healing Breaking Generational Cycles, Because when we have a safe space where we can explore our past, we can explore our childhood, we can explore, the patterns that we've seen in our family or that we heard about, and we can start piecing the story together of where we come from. We now are visually able to see what is a program that we're running off of that has been passed down to us versus what intentionally we seek and desire for ourselves. We can separate the two, and that provides the clarity and the self-awareness we need to be able to heal that generational pain and heal the pain that we've experienced in our own lives, and be able to transmute that into a more aligned path with what we truly want, who we truly are. The Roots to Healing Breaking Generational Cycles Healing Guided Journal is meant to be a 10-month step process. And I know when people hear that, that freaks them out. They're like, 10 months? Oh my goodness, that's so much time. But the reason why I designed it is so that it can give you a visual, a mental goal in mind of the end of this process. So you don't feel like you're aimlessly filling out journal page entries. You have a themed, timed response that's meant to guide you at your own pace, but it's meant to show you the goalpost in mind, that this is a process that has an end date. So you can visually see how much steps it's going to take, where this journey is going to guide you, and ultimately where you're going to end up at the end of this process. The journal is also meant to be an extremely personalized, safe space. Think of it like therapy sessions within a book, where you don't have to fear being judged. You don't have to fear whether or not you're going to have enough income or money to be able to keep up with these therapy sessions, as you're paying a one-time fee to have this book that you can use whenever you want, as much as you want. So it's really meant to be the space for people who might have experienced discrimination, might have experienced judgment, might have experienced, oppression while trying to seek out mental health, while trying to, figure out and understand why they have these personality traits within them that feel more so like survival rather than a representation of who they really are at their core. What makes my practice, Roots to Healing Counseling, so radical and groundbreaking is the fact that it is validating and acknowledging people's experiences who have been shut down because they do not fit the cookie cutter, container of what it looks like to be someone who's experienced trauma, or what it looks like to be someone who is worthy of being received, of getting the help that they need. For people who haven't felt truly heard, seen, understood while trying to seek out mental health supports. People who may have limited resources to be able to access the mental health support that they need. A lot of times in the medical industrial complex, people are labeled. People are simply looked at for the symptoms they have and instantly prescribed some sort of quick fix, band-aid, remedy to silence those symptoms, to repress those symptoms, but not to understand what is the root at those symptoms. Why are those symptoms even there? Roots to Healing. That's why I named it Roots to Healing, because we are looking at the roots. And if we really want to understand the roots of the mental health concerns we might be having, or the, lack of confidence we may be having, or lack of clarity in our life we may be having, we have to look at the roots. And looking at the roots means considering our childhood, considering our parents' childhood, considering their parents' childhood, understanding the intricate puzzle that makes up who we are today. What was poured into us in terms of belief systems? What did we see around us as a child that we now normalize and internalize as being the truth or the reality of the world that we exist in? We really want to understand the roots because it's so key in our ability to be able to grow new roots, to be able to grow new stems, new leaves, and really embody a tree-like, existence where we can honor all parts of ourselves, see all parts of ourselves, but also have the freedom and choice to grow new pathways, to embark on new things, to rediscover new parts of ourselves, to celebrate new parts of ourselves. It's really seeing the whole picture of what goes into our hurt, our trauma, but also our healing as well. So if any of this strikes a chord or resonates with you, I really encourage you to check out my website, which is going to be linked in my bio, where there's going to be resources. I make blog posts talking about, different aspects that play into trauma, different aspects that play into healing, different aspects that play into generational, trauma, generational healing and awareness. You can also find my self-guided journal that I'm speaking about, Breaking Generational Roots to Healing, Breaking Generational Cycles, on my website as well. I also have a kid-based resource, which I'm going to make a separate video on in terms of why I created that mindfulness journal for children as well. And overall, follow, subscribe, comment, interact. That's really what I'm here for, is to provide an alternate way of healing, an alternate way within the mental health industry that we can look at mental health concerns, that we can look at healing. So thank you for listening, and I wish you a great day.